What if you were to listen to an internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning illusionist, and he had something far more to say than, "Watch this trick"? Rick Thomas is that performer, ready to go far beyond his magic and far beyond your imagination, as he shares secrets regarding our dreams. Dreams that can become reality. The future belongs to those who believe in the strength of their dreams. Dreams pass into the reality of action. From the action stems the dream again. And this interdependence produces the highest form of living. Join Rick and his co-host, award-winning broadcaster Tammy Trujillo, for Nothing Happens Until You Dream. Indulge your mind and take a journey never to be forgotten. A journey connecting all of our dreams as we chase them together.
Okay, Rick, a lot of people are listening to the podcast. I know because I get people asking me questions, and I got one for you.
All right.
Okay.
Hit me with your best shot.
This is from somebody who has personally seen the show in Las Vegas. And on the show, you are bigger than life and you're doing all these amazing things. They want to know what it's like to live with you off stage. What do you like off stage? I know it's a wild
horrible question. That is horrible. I'm a Gemini. My birthday's in May, and people say I'm often two different people. One would be I'm not the same person I am on stage. Mm-hmm. If I'm in control, and we've had this discussion before about being an introvert and not doing very well in a party situation or something to that effect. And if I'm on stage, I'm in control of the scenario, I can pull it off. I can control it. I'm okay. Mm-hmm. But when you take me out of there, I'm quiet. I'm reserved. I chill out. I relax. I don't even think about much of anything other than I'm so glad the show is over. And I jump around on stage so much that I feel the pain. Mm-hmm. So I say, don't touch me. Don't touch me. No, you know what? It is a hard question to answer. I am two different people. I do take the top hat off when I walk off stage, and I try to enjoy life as much as I can beyond my magic.
Okay, and you don't make things disappear suddenly at dinner or anything like that?
No, in fact, after the show is over, I'll be outside greeting people at the theater, and a child will come up to me with their parents and they'll say, "Can you make me disappear?" Oh. And my words are, "No, I'm off duty." That's the best thing I could come up with. The show's over. They go, "Can't you make me float?" "No, I'm off duty."
It only works on the stage.
It only works. That's right.
Now, that's interesting you said that, and everybody's going to understand why that is a very interesting statement you just made in a few minutes. Okay, because we're talking about chapter 3 in the book. This is a very important chapter to me. When I read it, boy, did it resonate. I've been waiting to get to this chapter. I know this is a tough one for you because you did something not so nice.
Well, and that was last night, and I had to live with it, knowing that this morning I was getting up and chatting with you.
That's not what I was talking about, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm going to tell you. So, well, first, so you understand, when I talk about names, my wife her name is Tara, and the sister that I'm going to be talking about in this podcast is Tara. Okay. My sister, spelled the same. It's just Tara and Tara. Tara coming from the European background, and my sister coming from the United States. Mm-hmm. That being the case, that's just the way that the names are said. So last night I said some verbiage to my wife that I'm not proud of. And literally this entire chapter is about what you say to people and how it affects them. Mm-hmm. And I think that last night I said things that she'll remember for ages. Ouch. And she needs an apology from her husband in front of everyone. So, I'm doing this because you need to understand that when I share the stories with you today, when I talk about the different important messages, I'm saying them to myself as well. Mm-hmm. I'm not perfect. I wish I could tell you that I've got this covered and I've got life figured out. All I know is I watch what happens when things are said. And when I said things to my wife, it affected her deeply. And to this this very minute, I'm trying to crawl back out of my hole.
Oh, dear.
And I don't say it in jest. It is extremely painful for me. So the apology is there. And as we share this today, just know that I'm in the same boat you are. And that as you listen to this, may you realize not only does this affect the person who you tell it to, when someone says something back at you, the same thing happens. So I'm ready to share the story. Just know that it's been a very difficult day, and I'll do my very best to get through this one.
Well, we all do say things that the minute they come out of our mouths, we just wish we had just shut up. And the problem is you can't get them back. And we're all guilty of it, and we don't mean it. Sometimes they just fly out from nowhere, Rick, and you don't mean them. You don't. Just that being said.
You don't.
Now, the story you're going to tell that you tell in the book, I want to preface it by saying that you were a teenager when this happened, okay? So this is not you as an adult. This is you at 14 or 15. Girls, you'll get this. A 14 or 15-year-old guy is maybe like 8 or 9 in our years, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
I understand.
Just saying.
That's right.
Just saying. So
I will agree. I was vicious. I was vicious on my sister, and I was relentless, and it just massively brought her to tears. And I'm going to say this as I do in the show. So when I go into character and I start rumbling, just going through this, realize that this is said in the show, and this is exactly how it is said and the way I say it. And I'm ready when you are, Tammy.
okay, I have seen you do this on stage, so now let's do it here.
All right.
All right.
I am the oldest of 6 children and decided one afternoon to make my little sister, Tara, disappear. And I told my other brothers and sisters to play along with me and keep it a secret and don't tell her what I'm doing. I pushed her into the living room and I waved my hands over her head. And I said, Tara, you've now disappeared. You're gone. And she cried back, no, I'm not. I said, oh, yes, you are. Let's ask your brothers and sisters. I turned to my first brother. Do you see Tara? No. How about you? Do you see Tara? I can't see her. And the third, how about you? And she goes, I have no idea where she is. We played this game all day long on a 5-year-old. Hours later, my mother came to me and she said, son, have you seen your sister Tara? I said, no, Mom, she disappeared. And she said, no, son, I can't find her. So we all began to seriously look inside the house, outside the house, and down the block. 45 minutes to an hour later, we finally found her. We found her in the back corner of her closet crying hysterically. You see, she disappeared. She no longer existed. As far as she was concerned, she was gone. And to this day, she still tells me how much I screwed up her life.
Oh.
I know. Now, you see, there's a little bit of jest when a brother still says the same story. But I say at that point, I learned something that afternoon. I learned that when you say something about someone, good or bad, it affects them deeply. And it does so in reverse when it's said about you. I share with you these personal stories from my life to remind myself every day to say better things about people. And my sister's older now. She has children of her own who she wishes she could make disappear. So you see how it all comes back around? That's the story I literally share in the performance. And again, I throw it out quickly. I did what I shouldn't have done and said some things to my wife that will affect her in the same way. So once again, I apologize for that, but I needed to present this the way it's said in the show because I tell myself every day. No, let me repeat it. I tell myself off every day when I say this line. And when I say, you need to say things that are positive for other people, because you have no idea how it's going to affect them in their life. And I say it every single night. So when I say this to you, I reprimand myself as well. Now, I say it in a way where the audience can enjoy it. But in my head, I'm just telling myself, get your act together, keep it straight, and start treating people better in your life. Because what you say and do affects everyone, even if it's a little or a lot. It doesn't have to be virtually anything, and it could be something that they'll remember the rest of their life. And it's true. That's what she does. And even to this day, she still tells me how much I messed up her life.
Well, okay. But this happened a long time ago. How did it screw up her life, Rick?
Because it's something that she can't let go.
Even.
It's something that she can't forget. Tara, my wife, represents the spirit of darkness and light in my production. No, I repeat, in our production. I know it's my show, but she is truly a star. And she represents this spirit. And people say, is this like a ghost spirit? I go, it is the spirit. It is the thought. It's the process of darkness and light, because it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. But she also represents our losses and dreams that possibly did not come true in our previous part of our life that hold us back and do not allow us to move forward because we can't let go of the past. So she represents the past in the Mansion of Dreams, not allowing us to move forward. And I can tell you, and I can guarantee, things that were said last night, she'll remember, and that will cause problems moving forward. We're all fine. The marriage is wonderful. But those things happen, and they cannot be forgotten. They cannot be taken back. And my little sister, Tara, will often say, when I see her, do you remember when you made me disappear? That was mean. That was so mean. So here you have somebody who has her own life, her own children, but at the same time, I go, don't forget, there are times when you wish you could do the same thing. So I think that everybody needs to know that when you watch my show, put yourself in my shoes and realize when you listen to what I say, that everything I'm telling you, I'm telling myself as well. We have a segment in the show now in our intermission called the Backstage Experience. And I bring members of the audience during the intermission backstage, and they have a professional photo taken with the dogs, my dancers, and myself on the mansion stage, on the stairs of the mansion.
Cool.
And it is beautiful. It is a wonderful experience. Halfway through the show, they get to go actually stand up on the stage and see some of the steps and sets in the Mansion of Dreams. And I'll stand them right up next to me, and they'll turn to me. And even I get it mostly from the dads, and I really appreciate this. A father will turn to me and say, thank you so much for the words that you're sharing tonight. My children need to hear this.
Oh, that is so
My
cool.
children need to hear this. And I look at them and I say, so do I.
Well, we all have to remind ourselves of our own lessons. I want to take a picture with you like that. I do.
It's a big deal.
Yes.
I wanted to create something that no one else could create.
Yeah.
I wanted an experience that couldn't be offered anywhere else.
Oh,
and
wow.
when they see the mansion engulfed in flames, and then they see the dogs appear on stage, and they see our stunning dancers, and I put all that together, and in the middle of the show, they literally get to walk around the front curtain back onto the stage and stand on the stage where they've just seen an entire mansion engulfed in flames and take a photo with my cast, my dogs on these stairs. It is a remembrance that I'm very proud of.
Oh, yeah.
Took us a while to try to figure out what I should do for the public, makes it special. But I think that's one of the many things that I'm proud of.
Yeah, to get up next to one of the props, for lack of a better term, but actually get up close to what you've been seeing on that stage must be amazing. Wow.
Anytime anybody gets the chance, at least myself, when I've seen a show, I've always wanted to go walk up onto the stage and turn around and feel what it was like from the performer's point of view, looking out over the audience. And right in the middle of the show, before the show's even over, we're giving the public the opportunity to actually walk up on stage. And it's been a huge show. But when they walk up there, you have the staircase, you have one of our gold walls, and you have the dogs standing there with our dancers. And when you look at it, we've devised a way where you don't see all of the stage because there's a lot to happen the second half of the show. But they're literally standing there where they have just seen things that they just can't even believe they've seen.
Yeah.
And that's a really special moment. So, hey, we're trying.
And how that must affect them watching the second half, because they've actually stood right there where you're standing at that very moment. That must be really a cool metamorphosis in how they see the second half. I can imagine that.
That is another thing that is discussed other than, we're grateful for the words that you share about following your dreams and saying better things about people, is that they've only seen the first half of the show.
Yeah.
And they say, this is wonderful. And I say, we've only just begun.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to a second half. We'll see you in just a few moments. And I get to whisper that to those people as they stand there in preparation for the second half of the show.
Yeah. I think that is one of the coolest things I've ever heard happening during an intermission, which is usually boring. Right? I mean, it's like, come on, I want to get on with the show.
Yes, we want to get on with the show.
I want to see more magic. I have a story like yours with Tara that happened to me as an adult.
Really?
Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
share away.
And this will just underscore how much just a simple sentence can do to somebody. I've sung my whole life. I sung since I was about 3 years old, professionally trained, all of this stuff. 10 years performed with the Ohio Express. Remember them? Yummy, yummy, yummy. Yeah. Those guys.
Yes.
Okay. Toured all over the country with Ohio Express and backing up other bands as well, like Ron Dante and Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods and Al Wilson and Andy Kim. And I mean, some of the big performers of the 60s and 70s. I'm not going to say who said this because it will embarrass him to death. But I was singing in the car one day, which is where I like to sing.
Well, you just narrowed it down to 50% of the population. So continue.
I did do that. So I like to sing in the car. Do you sing in the car, Rick?
I do.
Yeah, of course. I think
do.
Everybody sings in the car. So I'm singing in the car. I'm not really trying. I'm just having fun. And this particular person says, you're not a very good singer. You can't sing. Now, I got years experience telling me I can sing, but that has never left me. I cannot sing in front of that person to this day. This has been 15 years at least. I can't sing in front of that person to this very day. And I have told him, you know what you said did to me? He's apologized up, down, left, right, center. I even took him to one of my vocal coaches classes because we all need vocal coaches periodically. And he sat there in the back of the room. While I vocalized with her, I managed to do it because I said, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to prove to him I can sing. I'm going to prove to him somebody else. I mean, she trained some of the biggest stars on stage. Somebody else says I can sing. And in front of him, she said to me, unprovoked, she said, you have perfect pitch, Tammy. You have perfect pitch and you have a beautiful vibrato. She said that unasked by me. I didn't, set it up to make him see how wrong he was. He's apologized. I still cannot sing in front of him to this day.
Thus, today is really difficult for both of us.
Yeah, because
I'm telling you, I am overwhelmed by my actions. I'm overwhelmed also by what I said. I'm a he, so I guess I'm in that category. I said something wrong that she shall never forget.
Oh gosh.
And if it's okay with you, because these are percentages, can I actually read something from the book that there's no way I can say without getting it right? I will tell you also, preface it by saying the numbers and the percentages may be slightly off because they're constantly changing. But this is what I know when I wrote the book just recently. Our modern technology and online communications are phenomenal. It can also be deadly. Do you know how many people, young people, are suicidal because of other youth slamming them online? Nearly 35% of our youth today report being cyberbullied. Over 60% of our youth who experienced cyberbullying reported that it immensely impacted their ability to learn at school and to simply function. 90% believe it's a major problem for people their age. We now know that those who are targets of cyberbullying are at a greater risk than others with self-harm and suicidal behaviors. Youth who experience cyberbullying are nearly 2 times more likely to attempt to take their own lives. A tweet is sent to hundreds of people, and those people can then respond with verbiage that is even worse. Our children cannot handle this abuse. They are just words, but they thrash their lives. It literally ruins them. Saying something unkind may/can torment someone for the rest of their life. I did this to my sister, Tara, and we thought it was just a funny, simple game. Verbal abuse is not a game. Be careful how you use your words. Whether it's good or bad, what you say is going to affect them. Try to change your vocabulary. Try to make sure that you're uplifting people. If you make other people feel great about themselves, then they will in turn think of you in a far more positive light.
Mm-hmm. Boy, is that true. You know, you and I grew up without the internet, wasn't there? I thank God we grew up without the internet. You know, you just had to deal with the kids in your circle. Now you've got to deal with the entire world. And if that entire world crashes down on you, I cannot even imagine how that feels.
Well, let me put it in something else that's not in that chapter that I will tell you that I have to admit even to this day, I am so honored to present a show of this caliber in my industry. I have worked my life putting Mansion of Dreams together, given it everything I've got, my time, my effort, my life savings, everything I have has been given to this show. I bring on the finest dancers. Tara is stunning in the show. She trained in the greatest ballet schools in England. You have people on that stage that are just massively talented. And then you have TripAdvisor. And people go online after they've seen a show. And for the most part, the accolades are phenomenal. I read them and I appreciate them. And I write the people and say, thank you so much for enjoying this show. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. And then I'll get a 4-star. And the one thing that destroys my day and the one thing that bothers me that whole day is that one review that wasn't quite as positive as hundreds of other reviews. Hundreds, thousands. So though I appreciate those reviews, I almost literally look at these reviews and they're tossed out the window because they're a perfect review. And you feel so good about yourself. And you have one review who finds something, I don't know what it could be. Maybe they didn't like the popcorn. I don't know. Whatever it is. And the rest of my day, my wife, Tara, her best line to me is, let it go.
And she's right. She's right.
Let it go. Let it go. Remember, she represents the spirit of darkness and light in our lives. And she represents our losses and things that we can't let go to move ourselves forward. And here I have, standing in my show, a personality that I personally wrote, scripted, and put into my production. And I can't even follow my own words. So I plead with you, listening to the message today, start applauding other people more. Start giving praise to other people rather than to yourself, and watch how that changes your life. Not their life, your life.
It doesn't take much. I get where that 1 4-star rating that you might spot just really brings you down. Again, Tara's right. Let it go. But when it's directed at your craft, it's directed at something you have put everything you got into making perfect. And you are a perfectionist. Oh.
That's my problem.
Are you ever?
That's my problem. That's my problem.
That's your problem.
That's my problem.
But that's also your strength. It is. Because you want things to be perfect. You're not willing to take it at 90%. Like some people, it's good enough. No, it's never good enough unless it's perfect. I'm the same way. So that 1 4, even though a 4 is pretty darn good,
or
it's going to
3s.
mess you up.
I get 3, whatever it is. I will tell you this. I read, and people don't believe this, but I read every review. And when I do read it, I ponder. I think to myself, is it viable? Is it something that was said that was correct? I do know that I'm performing in an area of the country that they know as the Bible Belt.
Yes.
And down in Branson, I mean, my show was in Las Vegas for 15 straight years. And it was a successful show for families.
Right.
Not just people over 21, but families.
Right.
And though it was a Vegas show and I came out to Branson, I started advertising my show coming from Vegas. And there were people who literally wrote reviews, take your Vegas show and go back to Vegas. We don't want it in Branson.
Oh my God.
And I was so hurt because I'm thinking, you have no idea this show is for families. This is really, but the decision was made. The thoughts were in their head. They wrote it down, but it affected me. I said, what could I be doing wrong with a show that even my mother will watch.
Right.
And if my mother will watch the show and she gives thumbs up, anybody can see this show. And I just want to make sure that anybody, no matter what their age was, could enjoy this. But preconceived conceptions and what people write say, no, we're not even going to give you a chance. You say you're from this part of wherever. We don't want it. So it affected me the moment I got here.
Wow.
And I sat for a long time thinking, what should I do? And I simply stopped advertising I came from Vegas.
Oh, no.
I said, okay, again, you know what? Why don't you just come see my show? And if you like it, awesome. I just won't tell you where I brought it from.
So they're just assuming because you were in Vegas, you had nudity and all kinds of
I had all goodness gracious,
wild and crazy
stuff.
stuff.
And I can understand. So I just made it a little bit more generic. And now we've been here 8 years and I'm thrilled. I'm enjoying my life. I'm very proud of the production. Entire families can embrace it. And when I have a father or mother come up to me and say, thank you so much for the inspiration that you're giving our children tonight. They need this. They need more of this. Thank you. And it's nothing about the magic. No magic. They were not even talking about somebody floating or flying in the air or some fantastical piece of magic. It was all about the message. And that's sometimes another preconceived notion when people come to the show. They plan on seeing a magic show.
Right. Period.
And when they leave, they realize that they've experienced something that's far beyond the magic and something I hope takes them in the right direction for them to follow their own dreams.
Well, not to be campy. I hate being campy on things, but it's a different kind of magic. Positivity is magic because it can change things and it can make things happen. And we don't have hardly any of that anymore in our world. There's just such a shortage of positive things. They're out there. Lots of them.
We know. We all watch the news.
Yeah, I do the news.
Well.
And, sometimes I literally take a shoehorn and try to am in a positive story. But unfortunately, that's not how news is constructed. And it's frustrating for us doing the news because we want to put those positive stories on, but that's not how the news is constructed. And here's the worst part, Rick. Those are not the stories that your audience expects. And I'll tell you a quick story on that. This blows my mind. Way back in the 90s, I was doing morning news on a music station. And I started thinking one morning at 5 a.m. when I was doing my doom, gloom, death, and destruction cast of the first hour, I thought, God, if I woke up to this, I'd just crawl under the bed. And I went to my program director. I said, you know what? Why don't we start every newscast with a positive story? And this is before the internet. And he said, oh, that's a great idea, Tammy. That's great. Because I explained to him, you don't want to wake up to this. So we did it. And it was fun. And my partner thought it was great. And about 2 or 3 weeks in, we started getting faxes, before email, faxes and phone calls. I know, right? Dinosaurs roamed the earth at the time. And
that's right.
People said, why isn't Tammy doing the news anymore?
Oh, goodness.
Because they would hear that first story. They'd go, oh, this isn't news. It's not doom, gloom, death, and destruction. And they'd flip over to one of the news stations to get the news they thought they needed to start their morning. They wouldn't stay because they figure, well, if that's Tammy's biggest news story, she's not got anything that I need under the heading of news, quote unquote, air quotes going on here. And so we had.
I see, because the top story wasn't the first thing you said.
Yes. Right. They didn't think I really had a real newscast coming. We had to stop because we were running our listeners away. And that's not what you do in radio. We are so conditioned to news being bad that when we hear good, we don't even know it's news anymore. And that's so sad.
Yep. It is sad, but news is the news.
Yep.
But individually, when you're talking to other people, don't do like I did last night and be a little kinder to those around you, because what you say and what you do will affect them the rest of their lives, including making your little sister disappear. And we'll never forget it. And what I appreciate is it's a story in my show. I'm so grateful that the story was actually it actually happened. Because you know why? because it is strong,
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
does give a message, because it was me telling the audience, look what I did to my little sister. Look what happens to you. And I can see it. I can see it in the audience when I say, not only does it affect the person that you say it to, if it's turned around and reversed, it affects you as well. I know when you're watching the audience and all of a sudden you see the entire audience nodding their heads.
Yes.
And you see this nod going through the audience. You're going, okay, they're listening to me and they understand. Are we going to change overnight? No. But luckily, I get to tell myself off every day. And I do. I tell myself off every day. Oh, Rick.
And I think practically everybody in that audience in that moment thinks of one thing that they have said to somebody else that they wish they could take back. I bet they all do.
Well, I hope in this particular podcast, I said nothing to phase you today in a negative way. I appreciate your stories. I appreciate that when I'm saying something that it sparks exactly what happened. And that was you having to tell me a story. Everybody is important. Everyone has a life. Everyone has a story to tell. We have stories to tell. Find those stories and share them with people, even if it's negative. Share those stories so people learn from it. And I'm grateful that the story was shared. I know it was difficult for you. And all I can tell you is get over it. Get over it.
I'm working
Move on.
on it. I'm working on it.
Next time we're going to sing together online, right?
Oh, dear. Okay, well, to close the show, Tara is visible and here, and I can sing.
Yes, that's right.
And there
With
you go.
children, she still wants to make vanish. Enjoy your day. This has been wonderful for my life today. I'm grateful for this, and I hope a lot of people felt the same way as well today.
It's perfect.
Thanks for joining us this week on Nothing Happens Until You Dream, starring Rick Thomas and featuring Tammy Trujillo, and is based on Rick Thomas's best-selling book, The Tiger Whisker, available on rickthomas.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out on Patreon for exclusive members-only content. Stay up to date with Rick and Tammy at nothinghappensUntilYouDream.com. Remember, you must follow your dreams, not only for yourself, but for the rest of our future. We'll see you on the next episode.